The executive floor of Harrison Investments hummed with nervous energy as Manhattan's financial elite gathered for my father's 60th birthday celebration. Through the glass walls of my secretary's desk, I could see them clustered in expensive suits and designer dresses, discussing the mysterious investor who'd been systematically acquiring controlling stakes in major companies. If they only knew that investor was sitting right here answering their calls and scheduling their meetings. "Emily," my brother Marcus called out, not bothering to look up from his phone, "get me the latest numbers on the Mitchell acquisition. And try not to mess it up this time." I hid a smile as I pulled up the data on my terminal. The Mitchell Group was one of the companies I'd quietly acquired last month through my investment firm, Aurora Capital. Marcus had been trying to buy it for years. "Here you go," I said, handing him a printout. "Though the stock price has increased significantly since last week." "Of course it has," he muttered. "Some shadow investor is driving up everything we try to acquire. Probably Chinese money or tech billionaires." If he only knew the shadow investor was his own sister, using the intelligence gathered from years of being overlooked at this very desk. "Emily dear," my stepmother Victoria glided over, dripping in diamonds that probably cost more than what they thought was my annual salary. "Do try to look more professional. This is an important evening for your father." More important than she knew. The financial news was about to announce Aurora Capital's latest acquisitions, revealing the true scope of my investment empire for the first time. "The guests will be arriving soon," Victoria continued, eyeing my simple black dress with disdain. "Perhaps you should work from the back office. We wouldn't want to confuse anyone about your role." I nodded dutifully while checking my phone beneath the desk. Aurora's latest acquisition had just cleared, another company Marcus had undervalued and overlooked. "Still playing with that investment app?" My sister Catherine smirked as she passed by. "How's that little stock portfolio of yours doing?" "It's doing fine," I replied mildly, thinking of the billions in assets I controlled through Aurora Capital. The same firm that had outmaneuvered Harrison Investments on every major deal this year. My father emerged from his office, every inch the Wall Street titan. "Emily, have the quarterly reports been distributed?" "Yes, Dad," I said, though I knew the reports showed Harrison Investments losing ground to my mysterious firm. "And the market analysis you requested?" "Good," he nodded absently. "At least you can handle basic tasks. Though you really should have tried harder to understand the actual business. Like your siblings." I bit back a laugh, thinking of the real market analysis on my private server, the one showing how Aurora Capital had systematically acquired undervalued companies and transformed them into industry leaders. "Mr. Harrison," my assistant's voice came through the intercom, "CNBC is requesting comment on the Aurora Capital announcements." My father frowned. "Aurora Capital? The shadow investor. They're going public with their portfolio tonight," Marcus added, scrolling through his phone. "Finally see who's been eating our lunch all year." I checked my watch. 20 minutes until the announcement that would transform my family's understanding of who they'd been underestimating all along. "Emily," Catherine called out, "get me the files on Aurora Capital. Everything we have. Maybe there's a pattern we missed." "Of course," I replied, accessing files I knew by heart because I'd created them. Though they're quite comprehensive. Through the glass walls I could see the party guests arriving: Wall Street executives, fund managers, financial reporters. All here to celebrate my father while discussing the mysterious investor who'd been reshaping their world. My phone buzzed with a message from my real executive team. "All set for the announcement. Financial press standing by." "More coffee, Emily?" Marcus asked dismissively. "And try not to spill it this time. These are actual business people, not your little investment club friends." I stood, smoothing my simple dress. "Right away. Though you might want to check the financial news first. I hear there's an interesting announcement coming." Because sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with perfect timing and irrefutable proof that they've been wrong all along. The screens around the office flickered with breaking news alerts. The moment of truth was approaching, and I had the best seat in the house, right at my secretary's desk, watching it all unfold. The trading floor screens suddenly blazed with breaking news, cutting through the party chatter. CNBC's headline scrolled in bold letters: "Aurora Capital reveals portfolio. Mysterious investor controls $47 billion in assets." "Finally," Marcus muttered, turning up the volume. Let's see who's been causing us so much trouble. I checked my phone one last time as my real executive team confirmed everything was in place. The detailed portfolio revelation would hit the financial press in exactly 3 minutes. Aurora Capital's holdings include controlling stakes in Mitchell Group, Stanford Technologies and Western Dynamics, the reporter announced. All companies Harrison Investments attempted to acquire this year. Catherine moved closer to the screens, her designer heels clicking on the marble floor. This is impossible. Those acquisitions required insider knowledge of the market. Maybe they had good intelligence, I suggested quietly from my desk, thinking of all the confidential meetings I'd sat through taking notes, while my siblings dismissed potential acquisitions I later bought through Aurora. Intelligence? Marcus scoffed. From where? Some shadow investor beating us to every major deal. Victoria approached my desk, her social mask firmly in place. Emily dear, perhaps you should get more champagne for the guests. These business discussions are a bit above your level. I stood smoothly, checking my watch. 2 minutes until the full revelation. Of course. Though you might want to wait for the next announcement. What next announcement? My father demanded, finally looking up from his phone. As if on cue, the screens shifted to a special report. Breaking news. Aurora Capital CEO identity revealed. The room fell silent as the financial press began unveiling my carefully constructed empire. The reporter's voice filled the suddenly quiet space. In a stunning development, Aurora Capital has revealed its founder and CEO, Emily Harrison, daughter of Harrison Investments founder Robert Harrison. Sources confirm she built the $47 billion investment empire while working as an executive assistant at her family's firm. The silence that followed was absolute. Every head in the room turned toward my simple desk in the corner. This is a mistake, Marcus stammered, his face draining of color. Emily's a secretary. She answers phones. Actually, I said, standing and removing my conservative blazer to reveal a perfectly tailored Chanel suit underneath. I'm the CEO who's been outmaneuvering you on every major deal this year. The secretary role was just convenient cover. Victoria's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. But your little investment app, your basic market research, was a front, I confirmed as my real executive assistant James entered with a stack of portfolios. While you thought I was playing with stocks, I was building one of the largest private investment firms in Manhattan. The screens now displayed Aurora's complete holdings. Dozens of companies transformed under my leadership, billions in assets under management, and a track record that had made Harrison Investments look amateurish in comparison. The Mitchell Group acquisition, Marcus said weakly, realization dawning. You knew our strategy because I sat in every meeting, I finished for him. Taking detailed notes about all the opportunities you missed, the innovations you dismissed, the companies you undervalued. James began distributing the portfolios to the stunned party guests, comprehensive breakdowns of Aurora Capital's holdings and strategy. Remember that silly AI investment you rejected last year? I asked Marcus. Aurora bought it. It's worth $3 billion now. The renewable energy company Catherine said would never succeed? We acquired it. The stock has tripled. My father finally found his voice. The capital required, the connections needed, came from actually understanding modern investment strategies, I replied. While you were focused on old-school metrics, I was identifying emerging technologies, sustainable businesses and innovative leaders. The screens showed more data, Aurora's returns consistently doubling and tripling industry averages. Your little desk job, Catherine whispered. All those hours you spent studying the market were spent building something bigger than Harrison Investments ever imagined, I confirmed. Every time you mocked my basic understanding of finance, I was completing another acquisition. Every time Victoria suggested I know my place, I was expanding Aurora's reach. The trading floor had transformed into a scene of barely controlled chaos. Financial reporters who moments ago had ignored my existence were now shoving microphones in my direction, desperate for comments about Aurora Capital's meteoric rise. Ms. Harrison, a CNBC reporter called out, how did you build such a massive portfolio while maintaining complete secrecy? The same way I built it while sitting at that desk, I replied, gesturing to my former workspace. By paying attention to what others overlooked. By seeing value where others saw only risk. Marcus stepped forward, his Wall Street confidence cracking. The Jensen deal last month, when you said the files were misplaced, were already on my private server, I confirmed. Along with my analysis showing exactly why Jensen Technologies was undervalued. Aurora acquired it the next day while you were still looking for those misplaced files. The screens around us displayed Aurora's latest acquisition, another company Harrison Investments had dismissed as not worth the effort. But the board meetings, Catherine protested. The executive discussions were incredibly informative, I smiled. Amazing what people say when they think the secretary isn't really listening. Like your brilliant plan to undervalue the Mitchell Group before attempting a hostile takeover. Victoria's social mask had completely shattered. The Vanderbilts, the Astors, they've been working with Aurora? They're on my board, I nodded. Along with tech innovators, global financial leaders and industry pioneers. The same people you couldn't get meetings with? They've been helping me transform companies while you were planning charity galas. James approached with another stack of documents, Aurora's complete investment strategy and future acquisitions pipeline. My father's face grew increasingly pale as he read. These returns, he whispered. This innovation analysis is what I tried to show you 3 years ago, I finished. Right before you suggested I stick to basic office work, because finance was too complex for me. The screens showed Aurora's true scope, not just acquisitions but complete company transformations. Failed businesses turned profitable, struggling technologies made successful, overlooked innovations turned into market leaders. The quiet secretary in the corner, I continued, addressing the room of stunned financial elite, saw everything you missed. Every market trend you ignored, every innovation you dismissed, every opportunity you squandered became part of Aurora's strategy. My phone buzzed continuously now, messages from investors, banks and business leaders all wanting to discuss Aurora's emergence. The same people who'd walked past my desk for years without a glance were suddenly desperate for my attention. Your little investment app, Marcus said weakly, understanding finally dawning. When you were always checking your phone. Was Aurora's proprietary trading platform, I confirmed. The same platform that's now licensed to half the banks on Wall Street. That basic technology you mocked last year? It's revolutionizing financial analysis. The screens displayed more of Aurora's innovations, cutting-edge financial technology that had left traditional investment firms like Harrison in the dust. Tomorrow, I announced to the room, Aurora Capital launches its most ambitious project yet. We're establishing a $10 billion innovation fund focused on emerging technologies and sustainable businesses. Everything you claimed was too risky or unrealistic. Victoria stirred, her social instincts kicking in. Perhaps we should discuss this as a family. Family. I turned to her. Like when you banned me from client meetings because I was embarrassing? When you told the Astors I was unfortunately limited, because I suggested investing in renewable energy. My father finally stood, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Your mother. She always said you saw things differently. She taught me that real success isn't measured in corner offices or social status, I replied. It's measured in value created, innovations supported, opportunities recognized. The morning sun streamed through the trading floor windows, illuminating the stark reality of what had happened. Outside, New York's financial district buzzed with life. Lives Aurora Capital touched through our investments in healthcare, technology, and sustainable development. The Aurora board meets in an hour, I announced, gathering my things. We'll be deciding on several major acquisitions, including, possibly, what's left of Harrison Investments. As I turned to leave, Marcus found his voice one last time. Last night, when you were organizing the party details, you knew this was coming? I've known it was coming for years, I replied. Every time you dismissed me, every time you mocked my work, every time you proved how little you understood about modern investment, I knew this day would come. I paused at the door, looking back at my stunned family. By the way, Victoria, that little investment app you laughed at last month? It just made more in an hour than Harrison Investments made all year. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't served in a corner office. Sometimes it's served from a secretary's desk, with audited financials and irrefutable proof that they were wrong all along. James will show you out, I concluded. Aurora's real work starts in an hour. Unlike Harrison Investments, we actually understand modern finance. The next day's headlines would call it the greatest revelation in Wall Street history. But it was more than that. It was proof that true power doesn't come from a corner office or a family name. It comes from seeing what others miss, even when they've relegated you to the secretary's desk. And I had seen everything they'd missed, right from my perfect vantage point in the corner. 1 year later, I stood at the window of Aurora Capital's new headquarters, watching the sun rise over Manhattan. The past 12 months had transformed not just my family's understanding of my capabilities, but the entire financial landscape. Harrison Investments had been absorbed into Aurora's portfolio, not as a hostile takeover, but as a carefully managed transition that preserved jobs while modernizing operations. Marcus now headed our traditional investments division, having finally learned to value innovation alongside experience. Catherine led our sustainable technology fund, her social connections proving valuable when properly directed toward meaningful goals. Even Victoria had found a role, channeling her event planning skills into Aurora's highly successful innovation conferences that brought together entrepreneurs, investors, and industry leaders. My father, in semi-retirement, often visited my office, not to give advice but to learn. "Your mother would be so proud," he'd say, watching Aurora's influence grow. "She always knew you'd change everything." And I had. Aurora Capital was now the model for modern investment firms, combining profitable ventures with sustainable practices and innovative technologies. The secretary's desk where I'd started was preserved in our lobby, a reminder that true vision often comes from unexpected places. Because sometimes the greatest power lies not in being seen, but in seeing everything while others look past you. The perfect revenge wasn't destroying what they'd built. It was building something better while they weren't watching.